Kyle Shanahan put what happened to the 49ers on this field in Houston into very, very simple terms.
Got beat today. Credit to them. They kicked our ass, and we got to take it like men and come back, hopefully a little pissed off, and go to work and play better next week than we did this week. I mean, there's not much to sugarcoat there. And I was real disappointed in how we looked for all four quarters. First half was unacceptable, and second half didn't get much better. So not much to say about it. Accept that. We'll look it on the plane and figure out all the things that we know we can correct and that we did mess up, but expect the guys to come in tomorrow with a chip on their shoulder, ready to get back to work.
26-15, the final score. The 49ers eke out just over 200 yards offensively. That's not very good at all, and they give up 475 yards to the Texans on defense. So obviously a lot of blame to go around. Main takeaway is that the 49ers, they are depleted right now. They have to follow a very specific formula to win these games, and that formula just got blown to smithereens early in this one when the offense went 3 and out 3 straight times to open the game. Maybe you could expect that with a QB2 and Mac Jones against the league's #1 Texans defense. But the defense, well, they just bled yardage and they couldn't get off the field. It got to the point where the 49ers were on pace to not hold the ball for more than 5 minutes in the entire first half. There's 30 minutes of game clock, and the 49ers barely eked by that. They had 5 minutes, 16 seconds of possession over the first half. It was almost an NFL low in this century. The 2008 Titans were the most recent team to not post 5 minutes of possession and a half. Thankfully for the 49ers, they avoid that kind of infamy, but it was still a really, really bad performance on both sides of the football. However, this is an interesting comment from George Kittle regarding blame for either the offense or the defense.
I mean, we didn't do anything to help our defense in the entire first half. I thought our defense was playing at a really high level, honestly. They're doing bend but don't break. I mean, their kicker had, 4 field goals? And if your defense is holding with 4 field goals. But, I mean, I thought our defense played really well for the pieces that were lost during the game, guys who had to come out for the game, guys who had to go in for the game, guys who were already missing. I thought our defense played it, really well. They were flying around hitting people. And if you're holding the team to 4 field goals and, just 2 touchdowns, our offense has to score points. And when you're 3 and out, we're not really doing anything to help our young defense who's adjusting and trying to figure out, the way that they want to play football. So, I mean, I think this is really on the offense.
I think the subtext here is obvious. The 49ers know that their defense in its current state is overmatched. They entered this game without Bryce Huff, without Nick Bosa, without Yetur Gross-Matos. Those are their only plus pass rushers. They lost 2 more pass rushers over the course of this one, too. Sam Okawanu was carted off the field, and the defensive tackle, Jordan Elliott, also did not return from an ankle injury. So they finished this game with 6 defensive linemen. They finished this game without D. Winters, who hurt his knee. Already down Fred Warner, hurt 2 weeks ago. There's recognition, implicit at the very least, that this 49ers defense is very, very overmatched. So when George Kittle talks, he's speaking from the vantage point of the offense needs to carry the load for this football team. That's why all the blame goes to that side of the football, because he's a captain on that side of the football. He's taking appropriate responsibility. But if we are speaking realistically, the 49ers were facing the #1 defense in the NFL today with a backup quarterback, without their top 2 wide receivers in Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk, with rookie left guard in Connor Colby, who's really been struggling. They actually replaced him for the final 2 series of this game with Nick Zakelj. We'll see if that's a full-time change moving forward, or if Ben Barch returns for the 49ers next week in New York. So, I mean, realistically speaking, you can't expect the offense to pull all the weight itself. And they definitely didn't in this game. They fought in the second half, and I think if there's one thing that you can say about this 49ers team is they fight and they fight and they fight, and that's why I think they have to make a move. I think you owe it to the locker room. The sky is not on fire. The 49ers are 5-3. It's a big cluster at the top of the NFC, and the 49ers are part of it, and they're favored to move to 6-3 next week because they play a bad New York Giants defense. The Giants, they lost today to the Philadelphia Eagles. They gave up 38 points. So I think the 49ers can control the game offensively next week. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier than it was on this field here in Houston. And if they do that, The defense doesn't have to be great. The defense is shielded like it was last week against the Atlanta Falcons. And the 49ers will leave New York 6-3. And if they leave New York 6-3, then you've got a showdown with the Rams with probably an entirely different looking roster for the 49ers looming in Week 10, because Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk might both be back. Put very simply, the 49ers are not equipped to blow anyone out. They now have a negative point differential, -4, right? Yeah, they lost by 11 and they came in at +7. They have a negative point differential with a winning record. It just shows you how narrow the margin has been. So it is no accident when you hear their players talk that the goal for this team is to take its opponents to the fourth quarter, because they're not going to be winning games decisively by that point unless they get a whole bunch of very lucky breaks before then. Listen to Mac Jones discuss this game.
Feel bad for the defense because we didn't give them, when you're out there for that many plays, it's hard to just play. You get tired, and even if we just get a couple first downs, it gives some pressure off them. So got to be better there. Obviously want to score points, but even just moving the ball and flipping the field can be good. Thought we did that better in the second half, but obviously got to put points up to beat people. So like I said, try to get to the fourth quarter, and really our defense has come up clutch in those situations, and so has our offense. So most every game we've been in the fourth quarter, and we've won.
Now, Mac lamenting the fact that the 49ers did not get the Texans to the fourth quarter, where they could win with one of their high leverage success plays, right? We've seen those happen over the course of this entire season so far, from the Upton Stout pass breakup against the Arizona Cardinals to the Alfred Collins punch out against the Rams and so many other plays. The fourth down stop against the Rams was huge as well. Last week against the Atlanta Falcons, high leverage at the goal line for San Francisco. Not this goal line, it was back at Levi's Stadium. Eddie Pinheiro kicks have been high leverage for the 49ers today, but he didn't even have a chance to attempt a field goal today. He was warming up from around this spot. I saw him drill a 56-yarder before the game started, but San Francisco never got this into leverage territory. The Texans just dominated them on both sides of the ball. Now, there's a third side of the ball that was fine for the 49ers, and I think it's very ironic. Special teams is the 49ers' highest ranked unit so far. They entered this game number 11 in special teams EPA. Offense obviously languished today. The defense has been languishing for several weeks. Said it back when Fred Warner went down. 49ers need to prevent the bottom from falling out from this defense. Not just because they've got hopes here in 2025, but because you're trying to build confidence for 2026 for these youngsters. And today on that field, we saw Upton Stout. That was not a confidence-building performance. I thought we saw, it's not just the lack of a pass rush. It's the soft coverage that's paired with a lack of a pass rush. And I know that both of those are related today, but the 49ers were in off coverage. Renardo Green way too many times. Jair Brown not aligned in a way that is going to be productive against some of these passes, a little bit too deep for the 49ers. I understand what Robert Saleh is doing. I think that's more implicit acknowledgement that this defense is a problem for the 49ers if it's a mano-a-mano situation without a pass rush. But they're going to have to continue scheming up some greasy wins. And I don't know how many more of those they have in them. The elite offense needs to show up sooner rather than later, because you only have so many bullets you can fire in a season. As a defense, I thought we saw Robert Saleh already run out of a lot of bullets today. He was blitzing more than I've ever seen Robert Saleh blitz as the defensive coordinator of the 49ers. But it was pitch and catch for C.J. Stroud. Over 300 passing yards, 30 of 39. What makes this worse is that this Houston Texans offense was bad entering this game. They struggled against Seattle last week. I know Seattle's a really good defense, but below average on the season. They didn't have their top two wide receivers in Nico Collins and Christian Kirk. But any quarterback who's playing 7-on-7 football is going to look good at this level, even C.J. Stroud. And the blitzes that the 49ers were throwing at him just were not hitting. And then there were massive missed assignments, like the Woody Marks check down that went 50 yards, Upton Stout committing that holding penalty that allowed the Texans to pick up one of their 9 or 10 first downs on third downs in this game. I mean, it just was not set up for success for San Francisco. Kittle might have offered that this defense was flying around, but regardless of how much effort they're putting in, the roster limitations are a real thing that the 49ers must work around. And I think the only way that you can work around them is with an elite offense and with a solid special teams unit. And that elite offense is not walking through the door until Brock Purdy returns. Now, the good news for the 49ers is that Purdy was back for San Francisco on the road trip today. So he's had 2 good weeks of practice, and he was with San Francisco on the plane, which shows that the toe is getting better. You could see, and you can see my Tecovas boots here, by the way. Let's rotate all the way down. There they are. Tecovas, proud sponsor of the show. They're not paying for this one, but just thought I'd shout out to them. We could look up at the roof here. I didn't realize this was a retractable roof in Houston. It looks retractable, at least. It's normally too hot to have the roof open if it is retractable. Don't quote me on that. This stadium has replaced the Astrodome, but one feature of the stadium, and it's going to be a feature of the stadium next week, is this. It's the artificial turf. Will Brock Purdy come back on artificial turf? I think that's one thing that's presenting a holdup for the 49ers with Purdy right now. Natural grass comes into play the week after that at Levi's Stadium when the 49ers face the Rams, but it currently is not something that the 49ers are going to play on for 2 more games. And I don't think that elite offense is possible until Purdy is back, because his mobility was truly missed today. The 49ers, against an elite pass rush like that, when they can't really run because they fall behind and the defense is giving up points from the very get-go, and the possession advantage was insane for Houston. The 49ers were facing a fresh pass rush, which was already ranked number 1 in the league. They're facing it with a deficit. There was a 2-score deficit at one point. They only ran the ball 10 times just because the game situation dictated that, and it was really, really hard for Mac Jones to operate against a defensive line that was pinning its ears back. Will Anderson Jr. was just whipping Colton McKivitz on that right side. And Mac Jones, a couple times he did show some nice footwork, some nice escapability, but for the most part, it was a brutal, brutal situation. It really did illustrate why it's so important to have a quarterback who can truly run, who can truly move. That's what makes Purdy the A-list quarterback that he is. So the 49ers need him back. They obviously need Ricky Pearsall back. They need Juwan Jennings to play some better football. That drop on that deep pass, I know that he made up for it in this corner right here. I mean, it was Juwan, I think he got both feet in bounds, and he just got absolutely drilled. I'm standing at about the 2-yard line. It was the 3rd and 17. That probably was the best play of the day for the 49ers, but they still need somebody who can take the top off of opposing defenses, especially to win fights like the one today where you're facing a truly, truly elite unit. You're going to have to go off schedule and deliver big time against units like that, and without Purdy, without Ricky Pearsall, without Brandon Ayuk, really, really tough to do. You're going to have these in the NFL, games that you just get, hopelessly behind schedule against a really good unit like the Texans defense, and then you just have to kind of pack it up and move on to the next week, and that's fine for the 49ers. But I think that the danger signs were already there last week for the defense, and that's why we're focused so much on the trade deadline right now. I know that the Jets beat the Cincinnati Bengals today. I told you guys that might happen. We'll see if Cincinnati's trade stance changes, but the 49ers, I think they owe it to the locker room because they fight, and they fight. I said that in the instant reaction. This is a football team that died hard today, despite the fact that they were completely overmatched. They've died hard this whole season. That's why they're 5-3, which is a good record. The schedule is soft enough to harbor hope that they can continue to fight and reach the playoffs this year, which would be a tremendous boost, not just for these older guys who want to milk as much good football as they can out of the rest of their careers, but for the younger guys who could use at least one playoff game of experience here in 2025. So they've already scrapped and clawed their way to 5-3. Because they've done that, I think that the locker room is almost owed an investment, maybe a trade surge, maybe a couple trades. You could worry about the price because almost every impact player is going to cost something, and it's usually a hefty amount. But you can also try to go for some bargain pickups, and I say pickups because multiple are possible. Think about Charles Omenihu. He played for the Houston Texans. That's fitting right here on this field. 49ers traded for him in 2021. Perhaps he can be somebody that helps the 49ers well, not he, Amenahu specifically, but perhaps somebody like Charles Amenahu can be an acquisition that helps the 49ers juice up their pass rush. Anything would be better than today, where they didn't hit C.J. Stroud until 28 minutes had passed in this game. Maybe multiple moves are what the 49ers need. We'll see what their injury situation is like tomorrow. We know that November 4th is the trade deadline, and I suspect that the 49ers owe it to their locker room to add some more firepower to this defense, because you saw what happened to it today against what wasn't a good offense. The Texans were also shorthanded, but you saw what happened when the offense could not shield it. And it was a big, big vulnerability. All right, we're going to sign off from Houston. Why don't we walk down the tunnel here just to show you guys where the 49ers locker room was at NRG Stadium, preceded by the 8th wonder of the world, the Astrodome. Well, the Astrodome is still there because it's a nationally protected landmark. But NRG Stadium has taken its place. This thing is already, I think, a quarter of a century old. And this is the way that the 49ers walked onto the field today. They made a turn around this post. They have long since departed the stadium as I film this. This is where the boombox video happened for San Francisco. They were fired up today, but they weren't ready to win this game, that's for sure. You can see the doors to their locker room right here. All right, everybody, take care.
How would you describe your guys' start in the first half? Was it
Yeah, it was rough. So Jennifer, the penalties, just not starting on the right foot, just details and just execution. We got to just execute. But penalties, we can't start with penalties, so we got to be, more clean.
Is it harder to get in the rhythm against that kind of defense when if we start slow to kind of get going?
Yeah. You never want to play behind the chains and stuff like that. So those kind of teams, they want to play, behind the chains. They want to start first and 15. So it gives them momentum. It gives them energy. And we let their crowd get into it. So there's a lot going into it. So we gotta execute to have control of the game.
So you feel like there's more mistakes that were going on your side?
Yeah, correct.
On yourselves?
Yeah, we got to be sharp. Beating ourselves. We got to focus on ourselves. It's not them, it's us.
Thanks, Peter.
What was the mood at halftime? You guys made some plays in the first half. You feel like you're back in it. At halftime, was it more out pretty good?
Yeah, just making adjustments, seeing what they're doing. Played a lot of quarters, so just kind of attacking that. We want to come out better in the second half, but just plays happen. But just got to execute so we can stay on the field. We got to stay on the field and make plays, and that's what we're strong.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
I mean, it wasn't frustrating. It's part of the game, but I just feel like we got to, own into the details and be more locked in, and just making those plays and, getting off the field so we can be able to, get the ball back to our offense.
Earlier in the week, Mike Hall said it's really tempting to try and go big here and make plays, but you need to stay on your assignments. Do you feel like that's what you guys did today?
I didn't really get to see the film because I was majority backside. Like, they was running a lot of bunch 3x1s, so I really didn't get to, see the film or see what was going on or what was happening to, cause us to lose today.
Is there when you got your interception, was there a sense of relief, a sense of spark, was there a sense of regret of running out the clock? What was it?
It was really just I was trying to score. I should have slid. I wasn't aware how much time was left on the clock, but I just seen, the end zone and I was trying to score, put us in a good position, to be able to win the game.
You picked up that ball coming off like you got off your guy to go. Captain Noah was going to sail the other guy.
Oh yeah. I seen it kind of like going over his head because the receiver had jumped early. Then I seen like the release of Stroud's his arm, so I knew it kind of was going like over.
You got a local guy on the team in Upton Stroud. Can you just tell us kind of the things that you've seen him add to the defense?
Oh yeah, his physicality. It's kind of rare to have a guy come in first year and just be that physical and just be able to just really lock in and just slow the game down for him and be able to go out there and produce.
Timo, you guys say it every week, you don't have a choice. The next man up to win when all the injuries kind of unfold. Does it ever get to a point where is it ever going to stop? You lose 3 more guys today. How do you kind of handle that?
We just next man up. We don't want the injuries to happen. Unfortunately, they keep happening. So it's just kind of something we got to deal with, and just everybody else got to be ready because we're gonna need everybody on this team, to get where we're trying to go.
How much do you think that contributes to what you were saying earlier about we got to have everybody on top of all the details all the time? Does it make it harder when you have so many moving pieces like that?
Yeah, I would say because the experience. A lot of guys is getting their first starts and being able to, really come in the game and just really actually play and not just special teams. So it's kind of different. So a lot of stuff is gonna be moving fast. But we just got to keep nailing it down, and just just working on being us.
When you talk about the details, obviously Fred was a guy that helped everyone be on the details. Was today an example of maybe obviously more so than against Atlanta, the reality of not having him?
I just think today we just didn't play as a team. We got to play as a team. We kind of seen the wounded team, and everybody was trying to make plays, but we got to just lock in and just let them plays come. That's what I kind of feel like it was. I don't really feel like it was really us missing our valuable piece. But I just feel like because last week we had the same type of game, and we came in and dominated. So I just think it was just us. We had to just lock in and just make the plays and let them come to us.
Without these guys, of those is just the margin for error less. Do you guys really have to? Obviously, everyone's gonna play perfect, but you just have to be even more on it just because you don't have those guys to make up for some stuff.
Yeah, that goes back to just experience. I think. With knowing the game, it comes with experience. I was once that young guy out there, getting took advantage of and not able to really make the plays until, my name was called. But, I just think that's just the experience part. It just comes with growing pains.
So obviously isn't up to you, but you guys have in the past been bolstered by trade deadline acquisitions, things like that. Do you think this team could use a kind of a shot in the arm like that as the deadline comes?
Oh, that's way above me. But if that's what we do, I'm all open arms to it. Anything to make the team better.
And there's always less margin for error, no matter who out there, and that goes for every team in the NFL. That's really the game of football, man. Who make the least amount of mistakes and who capitalize on others' mistakes. And that's what Houston did a good job at tonight. They capitalized on our mistakes. Kudos to them. Kudos to their coach. And they called us, man. They called us, yep.
You guys were so good against Falcons. And every offense. I know this is like a reality check, but is it kind of sobering, shit, it's a challenge not to have these guys.
I believe in the guys we got, man. I believe in the guys we got, no matter if Fred or Nick's out there. I believe in every guy that was out there on that field today. And I believe we can get it done with those guys. Like I said, this game, man, it never stops teaching, And we're going to go back to this drawing board, man. We're going to come back out, and your opinion might change next week.